As you go through life, you may meet really nice people. But you may also meet people who you just can't seem to get close to. This can happen even between countries. So, in today's video, we will look at the top 5 countries in the world that are unlikely to be reconciled forever. Start now. The first is Japan and China. Japan and China are located between the sea and Korea. Also, since they are the world's second and third largest powers, they are in a dangerous relationship where the earth could perish right away if they face each other. The Chinese, as the emperor of East Asia and the center of the Chinese order, have built a brilliant civilization and boasted of its dignity. However, in the modern era, not only was it defeated every time by Western powers, but it also suffered humiliating defeats in the late 1800s and in World War II twice by Japan, which succeeded in modernizing first. Each defeat was so great that the Qing dynasty became the Republic of China, and the Republic of China became the People's Republic of China. In the war between China and Japan in World War II, while Japan was invading China, it unreasonably even caused the Pacific War and waged an all-out war with the United States. Due to this, the Republic of China eventually ended in victory, but Taiwan, Manchuria, and the mainland were also trampled. During the war, China's Nationalist Party fought against Japan, but after the war, the Communist Party, which had grown stronger, drove out the Nationalist Party and occupied China, resulting in only a wound victory. China still hates Japan because of the remnants of this war, in addition to the pride problem of having lost its #1 spot in East Asia. Interestingly, both countries think that South Korea is better than each other. What are the thoughts of Koreans who have been invaded thousands of times over hundreds of years by the two countries? The second is India and Pakistan. These two countries are really bloody fighting countries, but it's a case of being enemies with each other because of religion. Even today, there are occasional armed conflicts in Kashmir, and terrorist groups are destroying each other's cities. The border area of these two countries is actually Punjab, which has long been one province, so their lineage and language are almost similar. During the Mughal Empire, it was forcibly tied because it was an Islamic dynasty, and since the entire Indian continent was united during the British colonial period, it remained as one country. However, as soon as it gained independence from Britain, it was divided into Hindu India and Muslim Pakistan after 3 wars. The United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, and France should be the 5 legitimate nuclear powers specified in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, but these two countries are the representative countries that ignore this and develop and possess nuclear weapons. In fact, these two countries have so consistently hated each other since the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was created that they never even signed it in the first place. If the religion was the same, could it have prevented these two countries from fighting? Probably not. Even people of the same religion often hate each other. Just like Brazil and Argentina. The third is Brazil and Argentina. These two countries are enemies with Uruguay in between. This area used to be called Cisplatina. The incident started when Brazil occupied this area as soon as it became independent from Portugal. This area, like Argentina, was a Spanish colony and became independent, so unlike Brazil, most of the residents of this area were Spanish white. Therefore, Brazil, which was a Portuguese colony, had a different culture from Cisplatina, and there were many black people, so the backlash against Brazil was very severe. So, a few years later, with the support of Argentina, they even declared independence. Brazil, angry at this, declared war on Argentina, and the war began, but Brazil was defeated unilaterally. As a result, Cisplatina was able to become independent from Brazil, and since then, they have been friendly with Argentina, thinking of them as VIPs. On top of that, they even put a symbol like Argentina on their flag as a token of their appreciation. In this way, Brazil still really hates Argentina and Uruguay, and there are even deaths from hooligans on soccer days with either country. What country comes to mind when you think of hooligans? Among the countries that come to mind, I think the UK is probably the one. So, do you know where the word hooligan came from? The name of Patrick Hooligan, an Irishman who was a 19th century London gangster, has become a common noun. The fourth is England and Ireland. Britain ruled Ireland for 800 years. The Irish have been discriminated against in all areas because they are descendants of the Celts, and their ethnicity itself is different from the English, and they have not abandoned their Catholic faith even after the Church of England was established. During the Great Irish Famine of 1847 to 1852, 1 million people starved to death due to the neglect and exploitation of the British government, and many people emigrated and suffered a fatal blow to the extent that 25% of the total population disappeared. This is why there are far more Irish in the United States than there are on the mainland. However, even in the United States where they immigrated, they formed a lower class because they were discriminated against by Americans who had many Anglo-Saxons. Being a police officer or a soldier is a good case, but there are many cases of being a mafia or something. The Irish, who had been discriminated against and persecuted for such a long time, were able to become independent from Britain at the end of an armed struggle during the outbreak of World War I. However, only pro-British Northern Ireland remained a British colony, and even within it, the remaining anti-British residents were discriminated against. As a result, it is also the only scary place in Western Europe where an armed terrorist group called the IRA is active. The last fifth is Greece and Turkey. Greece has long been under the domination of other nations. That is for the Ottoman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire was actually an empire of the Greeks. With a long history of more than 1,000 years, it has been honored as the beginning of Orthodox culture and the center of Greek and Roman civilization. However, as it was destroyed by the Ottoman Empire in 1453, the Greeks fell under pagan rule for the next 400 years. The Ottoman Empire was so powerful that independence was unthinkable, but when the Ottoman Empire declined in the 19th century, it barely became independent with the help of Britain and France. Later, when the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany in World War I and then fell again, Greece attacked even the Anatolian Peninsula, which is now Turkey, in the name of regaining its former territory. However, it was counterattacked with the appearance of the first president, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who is still admired by everyone in Turkey. Eventually, through British intervention, Greece gained the islands of the Aegean Sea. And Turkey gained Istanbul. The two countries, which had been reorganized into nation-states, became perfect enemies, even exchanging populations that drove Greeks and Turkians from their own countries to each other's countries. As the Balkans became communist after World War II, the two countries joined NATO together, and there was a mood of reconciliation to some extent. However, in the 1970s, the Turkish forces occupied the northern tip of the island of Cyprus, making reconciliation impossible forever. The two countries have been influenced so much by each other for 400 years that their cultures have become similar, but now they are fighting an endless battle of pride, insisting that their own country comes first. Today, we looked at the top 5 countries in the world that you will never be able to get close to. In fact, there are very few countries that are close to each other while sharing their borders. However, the world is already in a highly integrated state, and we live in an era where news from somewhere can be delivered to the world in 30 minutes. I hope it will be a world where people do not hate each other anymore and stay away from nationalism and religious fundamentalism that are going to extremes. If you were satisfied with today's video, please subscribe and like it, and I will come back with a more fun and informative video. Thank you.